So I never thought that having a purchase history with an authorized dealer would be that much of a big deal, unless you wanted a Rolex. And I don't want Rolex. I'm not going to go into that. That's just my personal preference. So I tried to establish, or tried to start to establish more of a relationship with goldsmiths who do sell Rolexes. All of my purchase history for my 4 Tudors, my wife's Longines, are all with Fraser Hart, who severed their relationship with Rolex in 2019, which is very disappointing when I heard that, because at the time I did actually want to get a Batman, and I was thinking about that from 2018-ish onwards. So I ordered one of these watches in to go and look at Goldsmiths, and my local Goldsmiths, and I know, like we all know, that you can get discounts on IWC. There'll be certain models that you can't if it's the latest, the greatest, the newest. The most in demand, obviously, you're not going to, but on this watch, I knew you could get between 10 and 15%. So I went and tried this on along with the Omega, and this was the one I wanted, and I asked them if I could get discounts, and they came back and just said nothing, nothing at all. And as a result, I didn't buy it. So it's a £4,850 watch, and I made the mistake years ago of when I was new to watch buying with my Omega Seamaster Aquaterra, of buying that with only 4% discounts. Immediately lost about 20% when I walked out the door, and now it's actually back to only about 200 quid off where I bought it if I wanted to sell it now, just because of prices going up with Omega and availability, and it was a fairly limited run watch. But I didn't want to make that mistake again, so I pulled away from that, and then I called around and just called Fraser Hart in Bluewater, not thinking anything of it. They actually took my name and details, called me back, and then they looked me up on their system, and they saw my purchase history of my previous Tudors on their system, and were able to do a deal with me over the phone, which was brilliant. I went in cheeky. I kind of asked for 20%. I'm not going to tell you what I ended up getting, because it might be unique to individuals, but I did not get 20%, suffice to say. But because of my purchase history, the lady I dealt with, who was absolutely fantastic, Christina, shout out to you, called up her IWC representative and tried to negotiate what she could offer me. And instead of coming back and saying X%, and I go back and say, no, X%, and then we have a negotiation, she just came back and just said, that's what I can do. That's the maximum I can offer you. And that was what I had in the back of my mind, is what I wanted. Man, this is really nice. And I took it, and she sent me a link, and I paid for it over the phone. Clicked on the link and then paid for it, and then went and collected it the next day. And she made this very clear that wouldn't have been possible without my purchase history at Fraser Hart with my other watches. So finally, which was quite nice, having a fairly strong purchase history with an authorized dealer has paid off. There's also mention of a possible trip to IWC in Schaffhausen. I don't know if that's going to come through. I made it very clear I'm not the kind of person that's going to be dropping thousands and thousands on watches. It's been a very unusual 4 or 5 years for me. I've kind of been stepping away from cars while I bought my house and spending more money on watches than I ordinarily would, and I'm trying to get back into cars. But she said that was still a possibility, and she'll let me know. We had a fantastic conversation. I ended up getting to look at an IWC perpetual and annual calendar. It was like £60,000 worth of watches. It was brilliant. So anyway, back to the original point of this video. Purchase history makes a difference. Building relationships is nice as well. I had a similar thing when my Blue 58 came out. I had a pretty good relationship with that Fraser Hart at the time, and the manager actually kept one aside for me the day of release, and I went and picked it up and bought it. So going in, speaking to the managers, having a decent purchase history. This is the first time I've experienced something like this, but it was really nice to see it in action. I've got to be honest, it makes you feel quite nice. It makes you feel a little bit more special. And it did enhance the experience for me. So there you go. If you are at the start of buying some nice watches, or you've already got a few, try and keep it to 1 or 2 ADs absolute most, because obviously if you want Rolexes, you're going to have to go someone like Goldsmiths or someone that stocks it, obviously. So it is worth building a relationship with your authorized dealer, just to smooth things over, to grease the wheels, to make processes easier, to get discounts that might have been very difficult to get otherwise. And I do think that one of the reasons Goldsmiths wouldn't give it to me is because I've never bought anything from them. I've done some servicing of my Omega. Had I bought anything from them? I bought a piece of jewellery for my wife about 5 years ago, a couple of grand on a ring, I think it was. It was an eternity ring. So no major purchase history, and I think that was a big reason as to why they wouldn't even give me 1%. Not even anything, not even we can give you some straps. So yeah, the purchase experience was very different between the two authorized dealers, and it was nice. I really enjoyed it. So I will be trying to keep as much of my business as possible with Fraser Hart for servicing. I mean, they stock Tudors. I'm sure I'll buy more Tudors. I'd like to get an Omega at some point. They stock Omegas. So yeah, just if you are looking to buy watches, you're at the start of this, or you're kind of halfway through, you probably already know, but just try and keep your purchases with as few ADs and individuals if possible as you can, because it does make a difference. And when they get to know you by name and realise you're a bit of a watch nerd, we had a fantastic conversation when I picked this up. So yeah, just bear that in mind as you buy your watches. If you've got any questions, just let me know.